Hey, hey, hey. How you doing, buddy? All right, refresh my channel. I'm starting a new stream. Thank you. You're saying he also won in 2020. Okay. Someone said it's a nice, dude. I gotta have a little running thing going on here, dude. Trump is dictator. Trump is dictator. Trump is the dictator. Did you guys see RFK? Did you see that RFK is firing all of our vaccine researchers or whatever? The board that approves vaccines. RFK is kind of crazy, dude. RFK is wild. He's insane, dude. RFK should go to school, learn something. Hi, Cybercuck.
Hey, how's it going, Jolah? How you doing?
That was a term of endearment. I didn't know if you like to be called that or not. I'm sorry.
You love me.
Yeah, I called you Cybercuck though, so I don't know if that's love. But hey, what's up?
I don't know.
It might be
like love.
It was.
Well, I was very captivated by your previous statements on Peter Thiel and the coverage in the Theo Von podcast, and that's actually something I would say we converge on greatly, considering the opposition I have to mass surveillance programs that really started like kind of under the Obama administration, which went from, like civil liberties advocate for national security, and then the evolution from the critic to defender. And I think what we saw was like massive amounts of money coming from people just like him. So it's really interesting to see people like Musk and Peter Thiel getting closer to the White House, especially against this administration. I think it probably is the worst thing for the administration. And while like we've seen Palantir rise in growth, we can only imagine that the integration with the NSA, the defense contracts, and all of that has gotten worse. But you made an interesting statement about the intelligence apparatus of Palantir, and I wanted to touch on that real quick. Apparently, it's the most invasive intelligence apparatus in terms of like data harvesting in the history of mankind.
Yeah. And AI is automated, so it's going to be never-ending collection, especially through all the camera footages, or I don't know, all the cameras in the world. The facial recognition technology is way too extreme. Like even with a full mask on and sunglasses, it can still tell who you are. So
yeah, so you could basically just eliminate an entire group of people at the push of a button if you wanted to without dropping a nuke. But like, if you're a conservative and you're watching this, like I identify as conservative, and that if you care about the Second Amendment, like, I mean, this is beyond that. This is a complete invasion of like your personal rights. Is like this is like a human rights conversation at this point. Like, and I think a lot of that is great that you're bringing that to people's attention. So I appreciate that.
Well, one big thing I'll say is that with some issues in American politics, Democrats and Republicans are very different. Issues like this, I would say, like, yes, Obama did sign the first like contracts for many of these companies. Trump signed some, Biden signed some, they all signed some. Obama actually gave Tom Homan his big shot and gave Tom Homan a big award. So people think that Trump brought in Tom Homan because Tom Homan is so aggressive against migrants and against foreigners and against immigrants. But actually, Barack Obama welcomed Tom Homan to the fray. So yeah, I would say for Democrats here, anything bad on like this level, Democrats will do it less bad. And also, there's a chance to organize and pressure Democrats away from the issue when it comes to like Palantir or another mass surveillance or ethics in government. The Trump admin is immune to protest. That they're immune to public pressure with this kind of thing. They have Laura Loomer, who is definitely a foreign agent. I'm 100% like sure about that. We have her going in telling them who to fire from the NSA and stuff. Like we had a really good nonpartisan or apolitical NSA leader, and she marched in and gave Trump a list of names. And now she's posting about Palantir and why and how a Palantir should be used on the immigrants. Haha, super funny. But yeah, I would say like Democrats you can actually protest against. The same with like Israel, Palestine. I told people with like Gaza, really hard progressives who voted on that issue. I'm like, dude, they might do similar things, but there's still some aid coming under Biden. Kamala Harris can be organized against and pushed, but I don't see any chance at all that the Republicans right now will move away from what they're doing right now. I feel like they'll just keep on doing it and threaten militarized force if we don't comply, I guess.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because, Palantir integrated with the army actually in December of 2024, so it looks almost like a bipartisan movement.
Yeah,
that's,
definitely
kind of an infringement upon human rights, because obviously Peter Thiel funded, JD Vance's campaign, and you weren't wrong at all. There's no arguing what he said on that podcast. I actually had it pulled up here, so if anyone wants to go and reference what you said, Peter Thiel most certainly did say, I no longer believe that freedom and democracy are compatible. This is the guy we're talking about right now. He's the boogeyman. Where you
compare us to the Weimar Republic, right? The Weimar Republic became the key country at the time. It was one of the most pro that you could find. Some of the first raids were actually in communist areas, communist organization groups, union groups, and also gay bars that were in Germany at that time. So that liberal democracy collapsed after the depressions and wars and everything. And then Nazi Party slowly gained relevance over the 1920s, and then Hitler was able to eventually come to power in the 30s. So yeah, Peter Thiel said we're like the liberal democracy that Germany was before it became Nazi Germany, and he wants us to go that direction. And they want these freedom cities. Essentially, they want every country in the world to be corporations and to have a hierarchy. They believe in I forget the word. It's like a techno or technocratic or technocracy, I think. And Elon Musk's grandfather actually wrote about this in one of his books. Elon Musk's grandfather was a known neo-Nazi who moved to Canada. He wrote a book about how the tech overlords should be the leaders of society because they have been selected because of their natural propensity for leadership and huge IQs. So they do believe the tech overlords should be ruling all of society. That's what they want. They want AI. They talk about AI as if it's an end all to everything and end to everything. It's like God.
The ruler scepter.
Yeah, and they called it God. They said they're making God right now. So these people are cult members who are very powerful. So
it's kind of funny because I'm using Perplexity to pull up and fact check everything you're saying, which is one of the most useful tools I've used. And I actually pulled up the exact podcast for reference that anyone wants to watch, where the guy said, where Peter Thiel said that Germany during the Weimar Republic era, 1918 to 1933, in February 2024 episode of Conversations with Tyler podcast. This comparison, centered his critique on liberalism and democracy as exhausted systems, drawing parallels to the political and ideological crises that preceded the rise of the Nazi regime. So basically, back in college, he was always like this, and he supports an authoritarian regime. He is not pro-democracy at all, and that's the dude who's throwing fat amounts of chips into these programs.
Well, so, but Stephen Miller wants us to be the Fourth Reich too. Stephen Miller's insane as well. And I don't think Trump cares about this stuff. Trump jokes about Stephen Miller, and he says well, Stephen Miller, if he had it his way, this country would have what he said. Trump had a quote that a reporter talked about, or someone from the administration said that if Stephen Miller had it his way, everyone in America would look exactly the same. And Trump always would joke with Stephen Miller about Hitler and stuff like that, and quote Hitler and that kind of stuff. So I don't think Trump gives a crap that much. I think he just wants power. But Stephen Miller wants a Fourth Reich. Peter Thiel wants 1984, and they're kind of becoming allies. And you see them feuding, right? You see Elon Musk right now crashing out a little bit. There are some feuds. Yeah, and Elon Musk and all the techno gods, they get annoyed that Trump's fan base is so anti-technology in general, or anti-science in general. So they have a little bit of conflict there. So it's been interesting with that.
I mean, I really don't want to stroke your ego here, but we had a conversation about this actually, I think 2 conversations ago when I hopped in here, and I challenged you on kind of Elon Musk being an apartheid, and I looked into it, and then I saw this, and I'm like, damn, Jolah was right. He did his homework. And at the end of the day, I mean, you objectively can't look at everything that's happened and not smell something fishy. I feel like we need another Snowden character.
Well, yeah, that's why I said too. I believe Elon Musk definitely did the Nazi salute. Okay, whether he did it as a meme or genuinely, I think Steve Bannon would do it genuinely, but Elon Musk probably did it as a meme or whatever. But with his grandfather's history, with Donald Trump's family history, with Stephen Miller, with Peter Thiel, they do quote a lot of things about like Nazi Germany, and the way Trump talks about Putin is very friendly. Like he sees them as like brothers, which is really interesting. So like it does, and Trump has talked about Kim Jong Un and Xi Jinping and all these countries, and said how he loves how they rule their people with an iron fist as well. So the iron fist mentality, even right now with LA, how much have you seen about the Los Angeles stuff?
Oh, I've been diving into it, and I'm kind of split on what to think about it yet, because I haven't really done enough research on it, and it's fresh. But like, what do you got?
Yeah, so the main points are this is the first time since 1965 where a president sent in the National Guard without the governor requesting it from a state. They are not supposed to do that. It was done to force states that were not integrating to basically give equal rights to people. So 1965, pretty extreme. This is the first time since then that a president has done that. Local law enforcement said, please do not send the feds. The feds make everything worse for them. They have it under control. LAPD has a big budget. Gavin Newsom said no. So the governor said don't send anyone. The local law enforcement LAPD said don't send anyone. Then they sent National Guard, and after that, the National Guard, I think only 300 were deployed, and the rest were not prepared at all. They were sent to like federal buildings just to watch them because they did not have much going on. 99.9% of people in LA don't even know there's any protest because it's such a big place and it's a very small protest relatively. And after the National Guard was sent in, that was already overkill. Then Trump sends in a few hundred Marines for no reason. So all I would need to know is, okay, the local law enforcement said don't send anyone. The locals, the people that live there, said don't send anyone. The governor said don't send anyone. All right. The National Guard basically said don't send anyone. And then Trump brought in the Marines. So the state said on all levels, all right, on all levels, they said do not do this. And the federal government said, you know what, screw you and screw your rights. We're going to militarize. We're going to use the federal government to militarize your streets, and you can't say shit about it. So that's basically that's how I see it in terms of like rights are concerned.
Well, it's kind of funny because it's like directly opposite of what you would expect a Republican to do, because usually they advocate for state rights, right? And then
Yeah,
that's
but they're
like a
snakes.
complete, yeah. I mean, it's just it's a good temperature check. Like when you look at everything that's happened over the past, I would say, I would go as far to say 12 years, like, and just see the degradation of like the inflation of the government's scope. I mean, like, wouldn't you agree that maybe things have gotten out of hand if you can just blatantly lie on public television without any accountability?
Well, I mean, it's hard because I mean, RFK today fired every single vaccine board. I forget what the board's called, but they make sure they approve vaccines in America. So we're probably not going to have vaccines anymore for anything. But he lied about doing that. He said he would not. He was not going to do that. I mean, RFK said that 30% of Americans have diabetes, 50% of Chinese people have diabetes. He said COVID was specially engineered to not affect Chinese or Jewish people. He said a bunch of wacky shit. No one cared. Trump can say whatever. No one cares. Elon Musk can say whatever. No one cares. I mean, we live in a post-truth world. So, like, it's difficult, too, because people believe anything they hear on the internet with zero curiosity on if it's true or not. Like, I see the libertarian presidential candidate getting screamed at for being anti what's happening in LA right now. The Chase Oliver guy. And a lot of Trumpers don't like him because he's a gay man. So that's one reason they don't like him. And a lot of libertarians are really fake libertarians, and they just like call themselves that to sound cool. But yeah, they're attacking people who are generally pro freedom because they just like believe who they like, not really what is true. And if you just get into personality politics and you say people like, oh, this guy's based, people are based, so I'm going to listen to them because they own all the SJWs. That's a great way to laugh yourself into losing freedom. Like you're going to march in with a big parade of happiness until they turn the guns on you,
Yeah, and I mean, it's a shame that more people aren't calling it as they see it. Like, if you're on either side, you need to call it as you see it. And like when something's like blatantly wrong, like the situation with Palantir, that's just bad for all of our rights. That we aren't in the top 0.001% of Americans with the scepter. It's important to identify that, and I think there's a huge blind spot now where people just like, oh, Second Amendment. It's like, dude, it's like that guy who
It's
said that,
such a
like, it's not
dumb
about the
argument.
Second Amendment. Like what are you even arguing about? And one thing I've liked about your Discord, I've actually debated with some people in there. You have a lot of highly educated people from all different places coming together, and they're starting to like paint the picture, and they're starting to see what's going on. So like, I guess moving forward, like, what would you hope would happen if like you were to go in and change some of these things, I like to ask you this question a lot because I think you have a good insight of this. Because like if you haven't done your homework, you're not going to have those answers, and if you have like done your homework, you are. And even the thing with RFK, like I thought like some of the stuff he was saying was good, but like if you look, he fired I think 1,269 CDC staff members.
Yeah, and RFK had Joe
1,500
Rogan.
NIH employees.
Well, he had Joe Rogan calling Bernie Sanders bought out by Big Pharma. And it's like, if you think Bernie Sanders is bought out by Big Pharma, you're completely on a propaganda pill. Because out of any politician in American history, he's been the most anti-Big Pharma person in terms of his messaging, in terms of his policies. But Joe Rogan now thinks Bernie Sanders is corrupted by Big Pharma money. It's like, it's so dumb. One big thing right now in America is, you know, I'm not asking people to vote for Democrats. Like right now, I would say I need them to vote for Democrats so we have a chance to change what's happening right now, because the administration, I don't think they're going to leave peacefully ever. Maybe if Trump passes away and they lose a lot of popularity and people vote with their money and a bunch of other stuff goes right, then a bunch of it goes right. Oh God, I can't talk on camera anymore. I'm scared. You know, after God, did you see the thing really quick where the ABC reporter said that Stephen Miller is a world-class hater, and the White House press secretary said, you are not allowed to go on rampages like that against the president. You're not allowed to. Like, that's actually, like, I've never heard a politician anywhere make that statement other than North Korea or Russia. Like, I can't believe she said that out loud.
Well, what I thought was even more crazy was like the one getting shot with a beanbag.
Oh, the reporter, yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. But I just wanted to thank you for doing a good job and doing your homework on some of this stuff.
I'll just really quick, the last thing really quick, like, so I don't need people to vote for Democrats, but like they had Ron DeSantis, they had Nikki Haley, they had a bunch of other options they could have like went for. They did not even consider one. They did not even make Trump debate. All right, they love Trump so much they begged for him. So Republicans got to own whatever Trump does, but they don't need to become Democrats. They need to vote against Trump. Okay, vote against Trump in primaries or something. Like the reason, like Trump wants to primary Thomas Massie and Rand Paul. Like, it's so stupid. Like that alone should show people where this is going. Like the only two politicians who even show like an ounce of like possible principle on the Republican Libertarian side, Trump wants to get them out as soon as possible. That should be a wake up call. Pick other Republicans, and if that Republican doesn't win the primary, maybe you do gotta suck it up, and Democrats gotta do better. And I'm working on it. I'm working on Democrats doing better. But there's some core principles where people, they don't understand why big government is bad or why small government is bad. You can have a huge government that is protecting people, or you can have a really small government that's ruining lives. Because a small government can be, you have a smaller government, but there's more power concentrated into one person's hands, which is more dangerous, and they have the military. Or it can be a big government where there's checks and balances. So you could have a big good government or a bad small government. It's not just big or small. The rights in the Constitution, the checks and balances, the limits from government intruding upon our freedoms. That is the key point. It's not just the pure size of government. And when I think big government, I'm thinking what ability do they have to work out unilaterally to bypass all democracy and civil checks to take away our freedoms and stuff. So that's one thing I want people to understand better.
Yeah, for sure. I think you're doing a good job of that. Hey, I got my son just kind of running an outburst here, so I'm probably going to have to cut this one short.
Yeah, sure.
Appreciate you, Jolah.
Yeah, appreciate the call. Have a good night, man. I'll call it again. Offer solutions. Oh. Shout out to TikTok, bro. My TikTok's been popping off, dude. My TikTok has been popping off. For real. For real, dude. For real. For real, dude. Like, for real. It's been popping off. Like, for real, for real. This has to stop. Isn't deporting people going to save us money? No, deporting people is going to make America poorer in every way, all right? Deporting people is going to hurt the economy. It's going to slow growth. It's going to cost tons of money. It's going to cause neighborhoods to fall apart. Deporting people is going to hurt America in every possible way, okay? When you say criminal, illegal, I mean, illegal immigration is one thing, undocumented is another. And when you say criminal, criminal cases are different from being over the border illegally or being over the border after your visa expires. That's a civil offense. You're a criminal if you murder someone. You're not a criminal if you cross the border. All right. So there's many innocent people, safe people here to work, who were probably, you know, maybe abused by some companies to be on a visa and never given a path to citizenship. Maybe people born here. DACA was made because people were brought to, or not born here. People were brought here as babies, so we had to make DACA because there is no process if you're brought to America as a baby. All right, there is no process unless if we're able to make one. But Republicans think every immigrant is evil criminal because they have issues with other cultures and races. That's the big thing. Okay. I don't call people racist. Okay, when I can help it. But the fact that Republicans call every single immigrant an illegal immigrant, and they call every single immigrant an illegal alien, and they need to use the word alien, and they call every immigrant a gang member, okay? And on every Republican ad, I have never seen a Republican ad where the immigrants they use to fearmonger are white. I've never seen an ad, and Trump put up tons of them. The immigrants are always not white, all right? I hear people say, oh, the issue is they're illegal. Well, they are not illegal, all right? You don't understand what a civil infraction is versus a criminal offense. You don't understand any of the legal processes. You don't understand literally anything about the legal process. You don't care about that. You see people, just like Trump said, I could tell they're criminals just by looking at them. You guys don't care about the actual legality. You don't care about anything except because, you don't care about anything except your hatred of immigrants. You're afraid of other cultures. You're afraid of other people that don't look like you or talk like you or sound like you or act like you. You're afraid of other people. You're afraid of outsiders in general. And that is what drives your immigrant sentiment, your sentiment on immigration in general. All right. That's why, again, find me one ad from Republicans where the big scary immigrant is a white guy. Please find it. Drop a like. Wait, does Sock 2 want to talk? What the hell? What are you in my waiting room for? I know if this guy's here. He's not here. Womp womp womp. Please drop a like, comment, subscribe. No one's calling in right now. No one's calling in right now, so GG's on the stream. Please drop a like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate you guys.
Make America great again. Illegal immigration is a threat to the national security of the United States.
It's a threat to the national security of your emotions, dude. Oh man. All right, who's calling in? Drop a like. Who's calling in? Let's go. Come on. Come on. Come on. Don't enter a country illegally and not expect to be deported. Dude, you gotta go get some help, bro. You gotta get some mental help. You gotta get a lobotomy or something. The drill's gonna go right through. They're not gonna hit anything soft in there. It's just gonna right through the skull. You just got a TV in there playing TikToks. You don't got any like independent thought. It's actually kind of crazy. You gotta chill out with that, dude. That's offensive. Why would you say that to your viewers? These counts on the Constitution, if they did, there's no due process. Yeah, due process, dude. Who cares about due process? Another low IQ streamer. True, dude. Truly. What immigration law bad? Can you speak in full sentences, you dumbass? Holy shit. Oh my god, dude. Please drop a like, comment, subscribe. Please drop a like, dude. 4 years of this shit is worse than COVID? Well, yeah. Also because we're gonna go in more debt as a country than we did during COVID. LA is a shithole. Yeah, dude. LA is a shithole. One of the nicest cities in America and in the world is a shithole. True. Very cool. If Trump wanted to be a woman, would you defend him somehow? I mean, Rudy Giuliani was a drag queen, wasn't he? Immigration laws exist. Get used to it. You don't know any of them. You just see brown person, you say bad. Brown person, bad. That's your immigration law. Nice. Drop a like, comment, subscribe. No one's calling in. I'm gonna have to make a new stream because no one's calling. No one's calling in. It's just how it is, dude. They're a bunch of scaredy cats. They can't enter the battlefield of ideas. They don't have any ideas to enter with. It's racist. A racist calling strangers racist? Yeah, I am racist, dude. Very racist. I love racing. Racing is one of my passions. I used to be a runner back in the day, dude. Trump is your daddy? No, thank you. I mean, yes, thank you, please. Don't be scared, beta cuck in chat. Call. Thank you, Kyle. You racist? Ooh. Quit being a psst. Call in. There's a number to call at the top. Very true. Very true. Oh, someone called in. Nice. Answer the phone, buddy.
Oh.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Hi, what's up? This is Politics talking.
Okay.
What's up?
Yeah. Wait, am I on stream?
Yeah, you're on stream. Yeah.
My apologies. Yeah. So
You're good.
I don't know. You just said let's talk politics, and I mean, with this situation that's going on in LA, I feel that like I would love to talk about it because honestly, like here's where my head's at. I voted for Trump. It's funny how Charlie Kirk says that like you're brainwashed. I feel possibly brainwashed by him, but he also brings up some excellent points.
Okay.
And so I don't know if my thinking is broken, and so that's why I'm here to talk because sadly I haven't, like my sister and brother are both on your side, and same with my grandma, but my father and uncle are on the Trump side. And so I'm conflicted, and maybe my thinking is just broken. And what I think happening in LA, as far as the Trump administration, is he's doing the right thing.
Okay. Do you want me to tell you why I think that's not right?
Absolutely, yeah, I'd appreciate that.
Okay, so usually we have a separation of federal powers and state powers. For the president to say we're going to bring in the National Guard, typically you would ask the governor of that state. It's probably illegal to just like send them in when the governor says no. It's by request. The last time a president did this was 1965 to help protect black people in southern states that would not let them integrate, basically, by LBJ. So pretty huge moment historically. This protest in LA was pretty routine. The feds came in and made it a lot worse. LAPD had it completely handled. They have a huge budget. They said do not send in the feds. They know what happens. If the feds are sent in from the government, from the federal government, things get worse. So the LAPD said no. 99.9% of locals in LA had no idea anything was happening because it was a pretty isolated event. Then Trump said, like, okay, LAPD said don't bring anyone. The governor said don't bring anyone. I'm going to send National Guard anyway, all right? Most of the National Guard was not even in use because there was no need for it. Trump sent another 2,000 National Guards after sending an initial 2,000 and sent in like 500 Marines, deploying American military, other than National Guard, deploying American military personnel in American streets, bypassing states' rights. And remember, at the beginning of all this, the LAPD said we have this under control and was actively saying do not send in the feds, do not send in any National Guard, any military, anything. And Trump violated the law, and he also just said like screw the people on the ground, you know.
Right. And I mean, like I was saying, I would personally say like both sides are brainwashed. I'm brainwashed and you're brainwashed, and this is just like my understanding of the view. I'm not like a huge political identifier, but like my understanding is that like technically speaking, that was allowed to do like under that like whole like I think it's like Title 10 U.S. Code or something like that. Like he's technically allowed to utilize federalized state National Guard units without the governor's consent because
no, Title 10 requires consent from the governor. It does require consent.
No. So yes and no. Title 10 requires consent, but that's only under the priest as long as there's no insurrection act, which is more the piece of Title 10 that allows President Trump.
Yeah, but like legally, if the president's going to say this is an insurrection or a rebellion, okay, then they can say that for literally anything and federalize military and the National Guard for any issue they want, because this does not rise anywhere near.
Of like good and bad. Like it's all up.
Well, no, like this is nowhere near. You don't have a rebellion where the local police are like, no, please stay away. You're going to make this worse. It was a peaceful protest. There were some bad actors, and then the feds made it much worse. So like Trump doing that is a huge overextension of government authoritarianism, in my opinion.
I mean, again, this is just like my understanding of the scene. I mean, yes, initially it was, but then it broke down into the night, where there was raids, setting cars on fire, interrupting ICE raids that have documented and legal justified from court-ordered judges.
Well, that's not true. That part's not true.
Okay.
ICE is not getting court orders for most of the deportations. They're not getting court orders. They're going after like workplaces and community centers and trying to find people, and they're detaining a lot of innocent people in this process. That's one big reason there was a protest, because they're ripping apart communities on purpose, targeting blue cities. The White House actually told them to stop going after criminals and to go after workers and Home Depots and stuff instead, because they want to run their numbers up and hit quotas. So ICE right now is a big cause of protest, and they should be. ICE is tearing America apart. I know many people don't experience that, but it's not really a good thing. And I'll just say, Trump, again, the National Guard was not even in use. They were sitting in federal buildings. Trump said they saved the day, all right, with National Guard before the National Guard even got there. So that alone, Trump is lying about. Obviously, they weren't even in position at all. And Trump said that National Guard saved the day. And now Trump is claiming victory, saying LA would be gone completely if the National Guard was never sent there. So it seems like he's using these big, scary words to justify sending in overwhelming government presence from the feds.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is all kind of like what ifs, kind of scenarios in a sense. Like,
it's not what ifs, man. I told you it's the first time since 1965 where a president overrided the governor's consent, right? So it's a pretty huge thing, and nothing's really happening in LA. The police had it handled easily. It was not even that big of a thing. Most people in LA don't know anything's going on, so it does not seem it rises to the occasion of a once in a century, extension of presidential emergency powers.
Most people in LA don't know what's going on.
Most people in LA, they would not know there's a protest without the internet.
My family there in LA that they knew this was going on.
Yeah, because we have the internet, but most people in LA, their daily lives were not interrupted. It was a very isolated thing in LA. Like, when it comes to protests in LA, when it comes to like Rodney King versus a normal Saturday or a normal Sunday, this is probably at like a 2 out of 10. All right, so it's a very small. Like, LAPD has a huge budget for a reason. It's so they don't need to bring a National Guard, so they don't need to do things like this. But of course, it's happening. Even in Rodney King. National Guard was sent in, but it was by request of the governor. So,
yeah. And by the way, I wasn't saying what if as far as the whole enacting of that something 10 enactment, Title 10 or something like that. But I was talking about the what ifs as far as if we let this continue without the violation, as you would call it, of Trump's National Guard. I'm saying what if in some sense of, let's say that didn't happen. We don't know how bad it could have gotten.
Yeah, we have historical examples, though.
Yeah,
like you want to de-escalate events like these. You want to No. Black Lives Matter is not anywhere this is not anywhere near 1% of Black Lives Matter. This is one millionth of Black Lives Matter. Okay, we know that we want to de-escalate the situation. This situation would be over 100%. It would be over by now if Trump did not poke the situation and try to make it worse and try to cause more conflict. They are actively trying to cause more conflict. That's why Trump is calling it an invasion. He's calling it a rebellion. He said he wants to use overwhelming government force to make sure no one ever does anything ever again. And the trap you could find yourself in when you side with the big federal government and you say the big federal government can do whatever they want to trample on states' rights and local rights, when you say the federal government can expand powers and just take areas over with the military and militarize it, you're advocating for a full military state and a police state. So every single civil disturbance, you are basically advocating for a world in which we could send the government in to take control of the entire country. If the president says it's an invasion or something, if the president just has an emotional day that day, then by this logic, like, oh, how far can any crime go? We should stop all the crimes, but we have to maintain some balance between law enforcement and also de-escalation, peaceful protest, and also we want to make sure we don't give the government too much power. The government getting away with stuff can be really, a lot worse than the outcomes that a protest can result in.
I mean, this is just where my head's at when it comes to the kind of topic and information. Like, my head is at, like, I hear what you're saying. Like, that definitely is a scary thought if we're talking about, like, I think what happened in, like, China with that whole, like, thousands of people were killed through Chinese military action. But in this kind of sense, I mean, this is merely for protection of buildings, cars, and other people who are putting themselves in very harmful situations.
No, okay, the big point is, again, the local police, the LAPD said don't bring anyone. The governor said don't bring anyone. The locality said don't bring anyone. The state said don't bring anyone. Everyone said don't bring anyone. But the federal government said, no, we are going to bring people. We're going to militarize your streets. That is the issue with freedom that we have to be concerned about. If the president can say that for any reason and bring in the military, just by justifying it with their words, then they can use that to take away freedom. It's not about just like people being there to protect anyone. That was already in place. There's a reason, like I said, these troops are not, these guard members, National Guard is not even in use. Okay, 90% of them are not even in use because they were not needed. So the big issue here again is the federal government using overwhelming authoritarian power, bypassing a state's rights, and bypassing anyone's rights to reject militarization of the streets.
Do you not see how there was actual physical damage to people's properties, cars, and actual...
Yeah, that's why we have LAPD with a huge budget. Yeah, they have a huge budget for a reason. They have riot gear for a reason. They handle these things. Yeah, they had it handled. They said, don't bring anyone else in. We have it handled. They had it handled. And the federal government said, we don't care what you say. We're going to militarize the streets instead. We're going to do something illegal and bring in the military for no reason. Like, it was not needed. You can say, like, oh, we needed people to handle it, but they had enough bodies there.
I mean, yes and no. Like, yeah, they handled it during the daytime, but during nighttime, there was, granted, a minority, a small number, but it still was happening regardless.
There was never a time where the people on the ground were asking for this support to come in, okay? They were never asking for it at all. The LAPD put out statements saying we are not asking for this. No, but they did not need it. Okay, so I would say that the police chief and the police officers know better than a random guy on the internet that sees pictures on Twitter that makes them emotional, right? I would rather trust them and their take on the ground versus the sensationalized videos we see on social media, right?
I mean, these videos happen more after the fact, like we talked about.
No, but if the people doing the job say to the federal government, do not send in the military, we don't need to militarize the streets, all right? We should probably abide by their guidance.
I personally would prefer a second pair of eyes.
Okay, well, if you want to become governor of California or the police chief in LA, okay, you can go do that. But you are a random guy who saw this on the internet, all right? So when we talk about these issues, I want you to think about the police had it under control, and the military came and just seized the area, which is not good for our freedom. Okay, it's a freedom conversation in America. It's not about you want extra eyes on it. It's a freedom conversation, what the federal government can do to override states' rights and local rights.
And this is all done under my personal freedom, because at the end of the day, I'd rather have more protection than less. We
are not talking about you. Okay, we're talking about the police, the people handling the situation, okay, the state of California, the LA as a jurisdiction. We're talking about the federal government's ability to override what the states want, to bring in the military to occupy American streets. So that is the issue. Okay, you can say all you want, I want more people there, but the guidance on the ground from the people who were managing the protest was don't bring in the feds. And the feds make it worse for the police a lot of the time because they're not as coordinated with the local law enforcement. So a lot of the times LAPD wants to do it themselves. Like it's a issue with the government and big government power being overexpanded.
As it needs to be, because we clearly saw from Black Lives Matter that they didn't have the situation under control.
The governors requested the National Guard when it got bad. That's the difference, right? Trump gave Tim Walz a lot of credit because he called in the National Guard.
days.
No, when they needed it, they called in the National Guard. Sometimes protests happen, sometimes bad things happen. Just because some bad things happen does not mean we should allow the government to have full authoritarian control. This is the trap of falling into a dictatorship. You use every problem as a means to give the government more power over and over and over and over again. Give them more and more power because you feel insecure. But like my big thing is we need to prevent the government from getting too much power. We can't just say like, okay, some people do crimes, therefore let's throw out the Constitution, let's throw out states' rights, let's throw out all the laws and let the military take military control of the again, like we do not want to give.
We're throwing out anything. Again,
you are saying we need to
overexpand
overexpand government power. Okay, yeah, you could just say it's justified, but you still want to throw out the rights. You still want to throw out our rights because you say it's justified. Like we could end all crime. Like if we get rid of all the guns, if we get rid of all of our privacy, we could get rid of every crime in America. Like China and Singapore have like no crime, but they also have no privacy, right? They have pretty much dictatorships. I don't want that in America. If you want that,
that's a fair point.
I mean, we can have a police state if you want, but it's probably going to come for you too eventually. That's the thing. That's the bad part.
Say that again?
If we have a police state, eventually it's going to come for you. It's going to come for everyone at that point because we need to have these rights. And like, it is a very small percentage of people at these events. It usually is people who come after the fact and cause a ruckus. Okay, you have a peaceful protest and people take advantage of it. But what happens is we overexpand the government and they actually end up going after the peaceful protesters. And like we have right-wing groups that go in and cause fires during left-wing protests to make the left-wingers look bad. We have documented evidence of people called Boogaloo Boys going in and setting, like during BLM, many of the police precincts that were set on fire were done by right-wingers because they wanted the left to look bad, okay, and they wanted to stage photo ops to make the left look bad. You could look up the documented cases of this, but we cannot trust, things we see. I saw a picture of protesters standing around 3 burning cars, all right? And I was thinking to myself, like, okay, well, all it takes to set these cars on fire is one person, right? You need one person to set these cars on fire. And then all the other people in the crowd can be watching the cars burning. But I saw people commenting on it. They're like, oh, these people burn these cars down. I'm like, dude, no. Like, if I'm at a protest and I see a car catching fire, I might watch it, I didn't do it, but I might watch it. So we have to make sure we separate, because I think it is good to go after people that do stuff like that, right? I think we should arrest people like that, but I don't want to take away our rights at the expense, right? Yeah. And like, do you know what I mean with the balance, though? Do you know what I mean when I say we need a balance between that so we don't take away our freedoms?
Yes and no. I think there needs to be support systems of like classified into regions. The LA isn't fucking 10,000 plus people, which is like how big this protest is, right?
I think LA has like 10 or 15 million people in it. So this is like that's what I meant when I said people in LA don't know what's happening. Like throughout their daily lives, they don't know what's happening. Like they don't run into it without the internet.
Yeah, and so I'm saying like out of like the entire like protest, like there's maybe like 10,000 at most, and the department or police department in LA County, it's like 2,000 at most, maybe.
Yeah, but like if you look at like I have this video feed running just like of the camera throughout the day. Most of the people here look like they're in a shopping mall. I'm pretty sure this one girl had a Hello Kitty backpack. Like they are here chilling. Like most of these people are chilling. Okay, it's a handful of people doing like crimes or whatever. And I don't know if you saw the video of the reporter getting shot with a rubber bullet by a cop for no reason. But stuff like that could interrogate more protests and more people to take advantage of protests to become riots. And I would say that they should be holding more American flags. They do have some American flags, but the pictures they share are from like, other countries, which is bad for optics. So, I mean, in the day of AI, we have to make sure we keep this stuff under wraps. And that's why I say we need to refer to what the local police actually said. because we're not there. We could have AI generated videos of everything now. We really don't know. So I want to be able to trust who's on the ground to make decisions, and not just have the government say like, oh no, we need the military. We're sending in the freaking Marines, which is super unprecedented.
Yeah, and like and that's why I used my personal experience, because I'm living in California right now. Granted, I'm up in San Francisco, and I have family down in LA who have witnessed.
San Francisco.
Yeah.
How is San Francisco? People say there's crime everywhere in San Francisco. Is there crime everywhere and poop?
Yes and no. Depends on what district you go to.
Yes and no. That's actually a good answer for pretty much everywhere. I'm from like a very small community. I'm from like a 99% white rural community, and I mean, you still have those areas there. There's just a lot less people in communities like that. So.
Up in this state, or well, can't speak city. So like, you've learned to kind of just avoid or go towards, because I used to be an alcoholic and I used to hang out. There's this one spot, like I completely removed it from my brain because I'm now sober.
Yo, W's in chat for sobriety. W's in chat for sobriety, dude.
Like,
you know, you should celebrate with a drink. It's the best way to celebrate sobriety, right? Nah, I'm kidding. Don't do that. Don't do that. Do something else. Do like did you pick up smoking or anything after?
Well, I already smoked cigarettes. I've since kind of slowly drifted away from that and do vape now, but I feel like it's just,
no. That's curious. I'm curious about that because I hear a lot of like former alcoholics. They usually go to like vapes or weed because they want like another thing to kind of do, but they can't handle like alcohol. Obviously, I'm from like a long line of alcoholics, so I've seen a lot of it. So
yeah, same. Like technically, my heritage goes all the way back to like Abraham Lincoln, but it's maybe a myth. I don't know. It's some bullshit that I've read on that line. But yeah, long line of alcoholics, and I personally tie my alcoholism with marijuana usage as well. So I don't smoke marijuana, but
oh yeah, it definitely connects in your brain. Yeah, don't do that.
Exactly. Any mind-altering substance is just a no-brainer. Like even caffeine is difficult for me.
Caffeine, okay.
Because I just have such an addictive personality. But I'm really curious as far as this like topic, as far as like not becoming a police state, because that's something that I've heard on your end as far as what you guys believe Trump is cultivating a police state or a dictatorship. Why do you guys think that's the case? I mean, we already talked about this one issue. Let's maybe change the subject if you don't mind. And so what other avenues is Trump becoming a dictator and trying to run a dictatorship or a police state?
So one thing happened this week where an ABC journalist said that Stephen Miller is a world-class hater, and the White House said they're going to pressure ABC to suspend this journalist, and they did suspend this journalist. And the White House press secretary went on TV and said it was an insane rampage, and you are not allowed to rail against the president like that. Okay, so if you look up that situation, that is language you hear only in North Korea or Russia. Like you only hear, you're not allowed to criticize the president as a journalist, or we're going to pressure your company to fire you. The person's name is Terry Moran, I think. Terry Moran, ABC. Terry Moran, ABC. And the post he got suspended from ABC for is so moderated. Like he literally just calls them world-class haters. Like it's just like a take. He doesn't say anything vile. And the White House used their power to tell ABC, you better, like, we're gonna use our government forces, we're gonna investigate you, we're gonna not approve mergers, we're gonna sue you, all that kind of stuff. And ABC already settled. ABC and like Disney and all these companies already settled with the White House multiple times. So that's one thing. The fact that Trump uses things like tariffs for his own economic policies, that's also authoritarian. Bypassing Congress. He has no like real laws he wants to get done through Congress. He wants to do it through executive order. And yeah, I mean, he's praised dictatorships before. He said he loves how North Korea, China, and Russia roll over their people with an iron fist. He has appreciated works of Hitler. Like that is something he talked about a decent amount. And he just appreciates them as strongmen. That's why he has such an affinity for Putin. He really doesn't enjoy Putin. He thinks they're like brothers. If you hear them talk, if you hear Trump talk about Putin, he talks about like their family members or long lost brothers or some type of like allies in some sense. And I think he really does see himself as someone, and he's a narcissist too. So he sees himself as someone that can say things and it gets done. He does not need to deal with, procedure, dude. I mean, even with guns and red flag laws, he said before he likes red flag laws because you don't need to deal with, you don't got to deal with courtrooms to take someone's guns away. You can just take the guns away right away. So he has always had inclinations towards authoritarianism, in my opinion. Oh, and the 2020 election also, denying the 2020 election and trying to seize voting machines in the 2020 election and trying to overturn it and steal the 2020 election, that is probably the biggest telltale sign of a dictator wannabe.
But like, here's where my confusion is. Like, a dictator wannabe and actually in being able to instill a dictatorship, and I forget what the term is. We're not technically a democratic society. We're like some other term for it, but
a republic. It's still a democracy. It's a type of democracy, but
yeah, that's what I mean. It's like it's a type of democracy. Like that just seems kind of unfathomable to become a dictator in a democratic society.
Well, yeah, that's why no one's scared, right? That's why no one's scared, because they don't believe they don't believe it can actually happen, and by the time it affects them, it's going to be too late in the process. It's like that. You ever hear that thing about like, oh, first they came for the communist, and I wasn't a communist, and then they go down the line. That quote.
I haven't. No, I'm sorry. Can you enlighten me?
Well, it's the thing where it's like, first they came for the communist, I was not a communist, so I did not speak up. Then they came for the socialist, and I did not speak up because I'm not a socialist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak up because I'm not Jewish. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to fight for me. It's kind of like that kind of thing, that they pick off around the edges. They go after certain communities America deems to be like unsavory, or communities that do not get public support. So it's going to be mostly Hispanic people, brown people, Muslims. It's going to be people who do not fit the image of typical American for a lot of the American population. Then they move on to other groups. That's why they're going after like international students and universities first. And authoritarians always go after higher education, whether it's Pol Pot or Mao or Hitler or Mussolini. They hate colleges, and Stalin. They're very anti-intellectual. They hate doctors. They hate the medical field. RFK is a sign of that. So like the authoritarian mind is one of anti-intellect, anti-intellectualism in general, and they want to solve everything with brute force and strength. And I would say that although Trump has not become a dictator yet, he's actually kind of close to a pseudo dictatorship, like near enough a dictatorship, or at least an authoritarian, illiberal, unfair democracy, closer to like Hungary. And I think trying to be a dictator, trying to overturn elections, is enough to me to say you're a dictator, or you want to be a dictator, because you're trying to. You could try to kill someone. You're still probably a murderer, I'd say, even if you fail.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I hear your points, and so along those lines, I mean, like, because again, this is just like where my thought process goes. When it comes to that, like, I hear your points, but fuck, I just lost my train of thought. The idea that Trump can instill a dictatorship, or even any president, let's just like say removing Trump from the equation, any president, at the end of the day, the president is a military leader. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Partly. So the executive, so essentially it executes everything in government. So Congress makes laws, the president executes those laws, and also the military. The Congress can make different laws around military action. So like, for example, Congress is supposed to declare war on countries. We kind of bypass that all the time, right? So they can set a law into motion, the president executes it, or Congress can declare war against another country, and the president can execute that war. So yeah, the president does lead the military, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But then, like, I guess execute laws are only passed by Congress. So, like, and only put up to vote by Congress. And so, like, for me, in my mind, like, in order for a president to become a dictatorship, they would need that extra branch that the Congress holds, which is that that laws piece. And in my mind, like, if we're having I don't know if true democracy is the right term for it, but like, I would say, like, if I could have it my way, and maybe my way is completely shit, and then that's why I'm just throwing this idea out here, is I would like the president, basically the biggest election that secures the most votes, to be little bit more control around the U.S. laws and procedures rather than just the final mayor say and the military leader. I would prefer the military leaders be handled by Congress and only Congress and supported by the presidential, and then laws be supported more by the president. That's just where my head's
Well,
at.
that's the thing about like so it technically does kind of work like that. So the president like will nominate a secretary of defense, for example, and Congress can confirm that person or not. So Congress does kind of pick every executive position, and that is a function of Congress to staff executive agencies. So they kind of do act that way.
Has Congress ever denied anybody as the DOD?
I'm not sure. So like I'm sure they have, but one thing to consider is that a president is unlikely to suggest someone that has no chance, right? So like they're probably going to pick someone they know has a they can talk early ahead of time and see who they have the votes for. They could withdraw nominations. I'm sure they've denied it before. But like right now, I mean all of Trump's nominees were pretty much considered to be terrible. Like RFK, Pete Hegseth, all of them were really bad, but Republicans had the Senate. They need a simple majority, and Republicans will never vote against Trump's nominees because Trump fans are so insanely pro-Trump that if you vote against Trump's nominees, they're not going to vote for you anymore. So your political future's ended. So that check and balance kind of eroded because of Trump's outrageous cult-like popularity. Yeah.
I mean, I would just say that's more just not even cult. That's just like the party's alignment. Like,
no, but the party is Trump, though, right? The party is just Trump.
Oh.
Like,
so what's the difference between Trump and Republicanism?
Well, that's the issue. There is no difference now. So, like, Republicanism, he's not a Republican or a conservative. This is a different ideology. This is white nationalism or Christian nationalism. They're ultra-nationalists. So if you look up ultra-nationalism, that's the ideology that's leading America right now. Christian nationalism kind of covers it, too. But the KKK are Christian nationalist radicals, so like these are like more toned down, obviously, than the KKK, but they're along the same lines. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene would have been a KKK member. Like I'm very confident she would have been in the KKK. She probably is.
Yeah, I mean, the KKK has evolved massively, so.
Yeah, it's just the same ideology. That's why Marjorie Taylor Greene celebrated when the Pope died. She said like a great evil has been cast away from this earth or something. So Marjorie Taylor Greene was very happy that the Pope died. And the KKK were historically one of the biggest surges of the KKK were actually in the 1920s when we got Catholic immigrants from like Poland, Germany, a few countries came over with Catholic immigrants, and the KKK wanted to ban any teaching that was kind of Catholic, and they wanted to make America have one language, to be English, to make sure these foreigners could not come into America. They wanted to ban books about it. They wanted to do all that kind of stuff. So there are clear ideological ties to the KKK and the current Republican Party. And I'm not saying they are all white nationalists, but they are captured by, like Stephen Miller, I'm confident is a white nationalist or Christian nationalist, whatever. It's a complicated conversation, though. No one really cares about those words. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, hey, I need to get to bed, so I really appreciate the civilized talk.
Yeah,
Now, like, I kind of have a personal question, because didn't you feature on the most recent, like, Surrounded with, was it Jordan Peterson, or was that somebody else?
No, I wish that was me. So sad.
My apologies.
I'm trying to speak it into existence. No, how dare you? Actually, those are a bunch of dorks. You know what? Actually, get me on the show. You must have connections. You got to get me on there.
I wish, man. Oh, that'd be sick. Actually, I might. I don't know.
Hey, you do? You have connections?
Well, my sister, she works in the influencer space, not as a influencer herself.
Get me in there. Get me in there.
She works with like beauty products and stuff like that. So
I'll do that. I'll do that too.
Beauty products?
Yeah, I'll do anything for money. Anything. I'll do. All right. Thanks for the call.
Later. Have a good one.
Have a good one. Anything. Thank you so much for $5, Sri, and $5 on Venmo. Thank you so much. If you want to donate to Jolah Politics, Jolah Politics, JOLAHPOLITICS on Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal. Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal. Jolah Politics. Axiom Shift, $10. America has obviously been a dictatorship since Abraham was allowed to suspend habeas corpus for good or not, for good or ill. popular presidents being allowed to break laws got us down this road. I agree and disagree. We've been a declining democracy, and executive power has been way too big. But Congress is the issue. Congress being a bunch of cowards is the issue all the time. Congress is the issue. Congress is the reason the president has so many emergency powers as well, with the delegation they've done, because Congress wanted to avoid political repercussions very often. But like saying we're a dictatorship since Abraham Lincoln is insane. Is really insane. We're very far from a dictatorship even now. We're closer than we've been for a long time, but you know, we are still a democracy, but we're going to become a worse democracy. All right, we're going to be a pretty unfree democracy. We're still going to be a democracy though, of some. Actually, it depends. We'll see. I mean, at this point, Trump's already. Well, thank you for the $10 too, Axiom. We are 5 months in, not even 5 months in, and Trump has already sent hundreds of Marines to Los Angeles because ICE agents were violating constitutional rights and people protested. And we've had a military, a federalization of the National Guard bypassing a state's wishes for the first time since 1965, 5 months in. We've had Trump take gifts from Qatar, Elon Musk steal government information and call Trump Epstein Diddler. We've had so much crazy shit happen, dude. And it's happening so quick, which is on purpose, obviously. It's on purpose, but it's still happening very freaking quick. So, scary. Who knows where we're going to be? Please drop a like, comment, and subscribe. I'm probably going to go to bed. I got to get some more sleep. I got to make more TikToks. Please join Discord. All right, we have a big group talking in there right now. We have a big group chatting in there right now. So join Discord. I'm going to send you over to one of my streamer buddies, Pisco, to Pisco stream. If you want to keep on watching a stream, I believe they're talking about Trump and what's happening in LA. Go say Jolah sent you. Thank you for watching tonight. Join Discord, all that kind of stuff. Got laid out a lot of points and facts during the last call. That guy did not know. That guy told me. That guy literally told us he was unsure about his positions. And like, you guys are kind of sad. Thank you. Join more. Eat more mainstream media. Thank you, buddy. Vandred. They can talk about my nose all they want. I know they're attracted to it. A big, bold nose is all they want. That's all they want. Go over to the Peace Coast channel, though. Thanks for hanging out. All hail Newsom. He's doing call-ins. Pisco's doing call-ins. Go debate Pisco, all right? Go say Jolah. Jolah wants to suck your toes, all right? Say Jolah wants to suck your toes to Pisco, please. Please say that. Jolah wants to suck your toes. All right, guys? Have a good night. See you tomorrow. No. Raid message is... Kyle, the raid message is not Jolataria. Wait, Jolataria raid. The raid message is not Jolataria raid, Kyle. No. We're saying Jolah wants to suck your toes, okay? Jolah wants to suck your toes. All right, I'll see you there. Have a good one. See you tomorrow.